vehicle. Caution is advised. Delays are noted on the A585 southbound between the B5269 and the M55. Expect congestion on the A38 northbound between the A50 and A52 in Derby. Worcestershire's M5 northbound between junctions 11 and 8 has significant delays. In Essex, the M11 southbound between junctions 7 and 6 has 50-minute delays. In Surrey, the A3 southbound is closed from the A283 Milford North to the A333 due to a collision. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's 6 o'clock. I'm Michelle Dewberry and this is Dewbs & Co. Coming up today, absolutely astonishing scenes across the pond as a gunman opened fire at a migrant camp. Get this, the shooter apparently had anti-ICE rhetoric on his bullets. Law enforcement there are saying that this divisive rhetoric is now literally killing people. I'll take you over to the States to get the latest on that. Speaking of rhetoric though, I cannot stop thinking about Ed Davey. He was basically suggesting that our kids might have to be cowering from gunmen under their desks at schools if people vote for Nigel Farage. Really? What do you think to that? Also, as well, there is so much more that we need to cover tonight. Never mind ID cards. Now, apparently, super ID cards may be on the menu. Apparently, we'd all be up for them. I certainly wouldn't. Would you? And McSweeney files. Do you know what those are? It's not looking good. We'll get into that as well. Keeping me company, my panel tonight, I've got Reform UK Councillor Leila Cunningham and I've got former Labour Minister Parmjit Danda. But before we get stuck in, let's give you your 6 o'clock news headlines.
Michelle, thank you very much. The top stories. A family of 3, including a small child, have become the first people to arrive in the UK under Sir Keir Starmer's one-in, one-out immigration deal with France. The Home Office said the move was part of critical first steps under the scheme after the removal of 4 people from Britain. The agreement, which came into force last month, is aimed at deporting migrants who have crossed the English Channel in exchange for those who apply in France and are approved to come to the UK. The government says the newly established legal route for those entering the country includes rigorous documentation as well as eligibility and security checks. The London mayor has branded Donald Trump racist, sexist and Islamophobic after the US president claimed the mayor wants London to go to Sharia law.
I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that.
Sadiq Khan hit back, saying he has squatters' rights in Mr. Trump's head and is thankful for record numbers of American visitors. Labour dismissed the attack, saying the president was misreading London and stressing it remains a global hub of law, culture and creativity. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage backed Trump's concerns, saying Sharia is an issue in London but not an overwhelming one. Volodymyr Zelensky addressed the UN General Assembly today, opening his speech by saying only we can guarantee our own security. He said Vladimir Putin will keep driving the Ukraine war wider and deeper unless he is stopped. There are no real security guarantees except friends and weapons, he said, adding the world is living through the most destructive arms race in human history. He said that because international institutions are too weak, Russia's madness continues.
I had to call a UN Security Council meeting for the first time in history because Russian fighter jets deliberately entered its airspace. Moldova is defending itself again from Russia's interference. We are helping Moldova, and Russia's trying to do to Moldova what Iran once did to Lebanon. And the global response, again, not enough.
Zelensky was speaking after US President Donald Trump shifted his position on the Russia-Ukraine war, saying for the first time that Ukraine could win all of its land back. Donald Trump called Russia a paper tiger in big economic trouble. He stopped short, though, of pledging more US funding or weapons for Ukraine. Russia hit back, insisting Moscow is more bear than paper tiger. The FBI says a shooting at a customs enforcement field office in Dallas is being investigated as an act of targeted violence. Police said 4 people have been shot, 1 has died. The attacker also died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Dallas FBI Special Agent Joseph Rothrock said it was a coordinated attack and just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence. He also said early evidence suggested the attack was anti-ICE in nature. Elsewhere, a man in his 40s has been arrested in West Sussex over a cyber attack that's caused days of chaos at European airports, including Heathrow. The National Crime Agency says the attack targeted the firm Collins Aerospace, whose check-in and baggage software has been offline since Friday. Hundreds of flights have faced delays, with some airports forced to process passengers using pen and paper. Officials say ransomware was deployed as Collins scrambles to rebuild its systems and urges airlines to prepare for at least another week of disruption. The suspect has been bailed as the investigation continues. A leaked Labour document shows Sir Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff was told to describe £700,000 of undeclared donations as an admin error. The advice came from the party's lawyer in 2021, after the elections watchdog said the funds should have been reported. The Conservatives are demanding an investigation, accusing the Prime Minister of failing to declare support from Labour Together. The think tank, once led by Morgan McSweeney, was fined for more than 20 breaches. But Senior Minister Pat McFadden says the issue was dealt with years ago and insists McSweeney will remain in post.
Not surprised that political opponents are trying to attack Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff at Number 10. He's very effective. He was a big part of Labour's election victory last year. So I'm not surprised they're attacking him. But the Electoral Commission's job is to police all these things, and they said they looked into it some years ago.
Ofgem has confirmed energy suppliers must offer at least one tariff with lower standing charges from January, though the fixed costs won't be scrapped entirely. The regulator says the move will give households more choice on how they pay by shifting some of the daily fee into unit rates. It follows consumer pressure to reform the charges, which apply regardless of how much energy people use. Campaigners say the change is only a small step forward, as bills are still set to rise by 2% in October. Ofgem will now consult before final approval, aiming to roll out the new tariffs nationwide by the end of January. Those are the latest headlines. For now, more from me in an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Thank Thank you very much for that, Tatiana. Hello to each and every single one of you. My name is Michelle Dewberry. This is Dewbs & Co, keeping you company until 7 o'clock tonight. Alongside me, Reform UK Councillor Layla Cunningham, and alongside her new face to the panel, we like new faces on Dewbs & Co, former Labour Minister Parmjeet Dhanda. You're very welcome. As of course, always are you.
Thank you.
And you know the drill about this programme. You are also very much welcome to join the conversation in all the usual ways. Email me, gbviews@gbnews.com. Go to the website, gbnews.com/yoursay. Of course, you can tweet or you can X me. Now, astonishing scenes occurring across the pond today. A shooting that has been described as a targeted act of violence. There was a big press conference that took place quite recently, probably about an hour or so ago, live from Dallas, updating us with some of the details. First of all, let's hear from the FBI in Dallas, Joseph Rothrack, with what he had to say.
Early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack.
Yeah, and I mean, they've actually got some pictures of what is apparently some unspent rounds of those bullets. I mean, you can see that. If you've got great eyesight, you might be able to make out some of those etchings. But they do appear to be exactly as just described, anti-ICE, as the Americans would pronounce that. Also, the US Senator Ted Cruz, he immediately spoke as well afterwards at that press conference. It was really quite astonishing, some of the things that he had to say. Let's take a listen.
Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop.
I think this is such a such an important story tonight to follow, which is why I actually wanted to begin this programme with it, because, of course, the whole issue of uncontrolled immigration is something that seems to be happening right across the world right now. People really do have strong opinions about this. I want to take you live to Washington, D.C., where our GB News presenter, the Queen of American TV, that's how I prefer to call you, Beverly Turner. It's been quite the day. And of course, we're hearing now J.D. Vance and people like that, they've immediately kind of taken this down the avenue that this is somebody, I mean, the guy who did the shooting is now dead, but apparently they've taken it down this route that actually it is someone that's very angry with ICE and the way that they've been operating. What more can you tell us?
I think it's probably worth, before we start, Michelle, is just explaining to British viewers some of these acronyms that are being thrown around. So ICE is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Organisation. And then you also heard Ted Cruz there talking about the CBP, that's the Customs and Border Protection. This issue about who is allowed to be in this country is hot right now in America, because you've got the Democrats on the left, as you just said. You've got Gavin Newsom, the senator for California, the governor of California, sorry, did an interview last night slamming this process. And what is happening is that these ICE agents have greater powers than police officers. This is uniquely a Donald Trump exercise. They can be plainclothed, they can be in unmarked cars, and they can lie in order to gain access to a property if it means that they can go in and detain somebody that isn't allowed to be in this country. Now, they have people here who won't have legal status. They could be called individuals unlawfully present, but they might have been here for 20, 30 years, some of them. They have jobs, they pay tax, they have families. It's a very different system to ours. But at the moment, Donald Trump is basically rounding them up and kicking them out, particularly focusing on what they call the criminal aliens. So people who are here without a right to be here as a citizen, but they've also committed a crime. He's just literally rounding them up. And they put them in these detention centres. And that's one of the places which has been the focus this evening, or this what time is it? It's lunchtime here in Washington, this morning, this lunchtime, in Dallas. So the detainees get taken into these facilities. And this is called an ICE field, and it's part office building, it's part processing centre for detainees. And they go in there, they get their fingerprints taken, their biometric details, they get registered, and then they get moved into what's called a hold room. And so we know that this attack has happened at some point during that process. We don't know at the moment whether the victims of the shootings were actually law enforcement ICE agents or were they actually migrants. But it's definitely part of this narrative that is happening here, that Trump is rounding people up, the left would say unnecessarily, Republicans would disagree, and it's being used by politicians on the left to whip up this hatred and this animosity. You can imagine how divisive this issue is here. And of course, we saw it with Charlie Kirk, a politically motivated assassination. We've seen it now today with this writing on the bullets. I've never seen this writing on bullets. Maybe this is a new phenomenon. It's not something I was familiar with. And of course, we saw it with the Trump assassination, the attempt last year. All of them from snipers on rooftops. That's what the suggestion is here. I'm not sure we've had that confirmed specifically in this case in Dallas today. But that's very difficult to protect people from, because you can have close protection. But if you are going to be moving immigrants around under the control of ICE agents, how on earth do you cover off every rooftop in an area? So it's hugely controversial here, Michelle, and this does nothing to bring the temperature down on this. It will only increase it.
Yeah, and I've got to say, apparently, according to a statement from the Department of Homeland Security, what they're saying is that two what they call detainees have been killed. A third is in critical condition. They're saying that no US Immigration and Customs Enforcement, i.e. the ICE agents, were injured. When I watched the press conference today, Bev, the opening part, so there was a few different people that spoke. The opening part was someone asking for a prayer. It was one of the officials from Dallas basically saying that right now Dallas is in need of prayer. People are frightened. There's an awful atmosphere. Describe the atmosphere in America at the moment.
We think Donald Trump is divisive in the UK. Well, you should just try being in America. I always think a great barometer of public opinion, I don't know about you, Michelle, are taxi drivers. Whenever I get into an Uber or a taxi here in Washington, that's the first conversation I want to have with them. How is everything here? They don't know I'm a journalist, and I just want to find out from the person on the street. And their opinion of how things are in America is directly associated with how they feel about Donald Trump himself as a person. And so sometimes they will concede that there are things that have improved since he came into the White House, but they do it incredibly reluctantly if they don't like Donald Trump. And sometimes you can't get them to say anything. Sometimes they don't believe there is anything either. But if you find people who love Donald Trump, they will tell you that everything is great. And I, for one, certainly here in Washington have seen the presence on the streets of the police and the National Guard is like nothing I've ever seen before in my life. And that has proven incredibly divisive, because I could show you out of my window now, there will be men in camo, basically carrying guns, and it's a sort of volunteer army. The locals don't like it. They say it makes them feel scared. As somebody that's come from out of town, I love it because it makes me feel safe. There are these various issues around crime and safety, which are so polarizing here in America at the moment. And I don't know how anybody brings those two together whilst Donald Trump remains such a divisive figure. We'll be dealing with this on the show this evening after midnight, of course, on GB News as well. See how this develops.
Yes, you will. I've got to tell you, I make a special effort to stay up and watch your programme. As you say, it starts at midnight and I will be glued to it yet again tonight. But for now, Beverly Turner, thank you very, very much for that update. What do you make to this at home, ladies and gents? I've got to remind you as well, whilst it's been widely documented that it was anti-ICE rhetoric on these bullets, no ICE members appear to have been killed. It seems to be what they call ICE detainees who have been the unfortunate victims of this shooting. Absolutely horrendous situation. I want a very brief response from both of my panel, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more after the break in terms of the rhetoric around immigration. But your initial reaction, Leila?
I mean, if this attack was because of the deportations that Trump is doing, it shows what happens when you tell people borders don't matter and that enforcement is evil. Someone takes that literally, and that's a logical conclusion of an open borders ideology. It's about values.
Well, we'll get into this a little bit more, worry not, everybody. But Panjit, your thoughts?
Well, it seems like a relatively unclear picture at the minute. But first of all, if innocent people have been shot and killed here, our thoughts need to go out to the families. Indeed.
Yeah, it's absolutely awful. I want to explore deeper the rhetoric surrounding, because this is a very, very emotional topic, whichever side of the fence you're on, and people have different opinions, understandably, on this issue. But the rhetoric. Is the rhetoric around the problem of immigration, uncontrolled immigration, I should caveat that with, a problem, do you think, in this country? If so, how do you think this gets dialed down? I'll see you in 2.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Michelle Dewberry. Alongside me tonight, I've got Layla Cunningham and Pamjeet Danda. Welcome back, everybody. I want to talk to you, and I'm using the opening, if you would like, about the astonishing, appalling scenes, the shooting that we've seen taking place at the migrant centre today over in America. As I was explaining to you earlier on, apparently it's been claimed that the shooter had anti-ICE rhetoric, so ICE, the immigration police, basically. I'm simplifying it, but that's basically who they are. The victims of this appalling attack, they're not the ICE operatives. They do seem to be what they call the ICE detainees. Anyway, the focus on the press conference that followed was all about the rhetoric. You heard Ted Cruz basically saying, stop calling people Nazis and all the rest of it. It then made me stop and think back to something I heard yesterday. Ed Davey, of course, you've had the Lib Dems conference. Take a listen to something that he had to say.
Laws are rolled back. So schools have to teach our children what to do in case of a mass shooting. Trump's America, don't let it become Farage's Britain.
Invoking images of children, little boys, little girls, cowering under desks because some lunatic with a gun is running amok in their school trying to access and shoot them is one of the most terrifying images you can have in your mind as a parent. Invoking those images to try and stop people voting for somebody, in this case Reform UK, Nigel Farage, I think is such a low blow. I think Ed Davey should be ashamed of himself. And I'm not a Reform member and I'm not a Reform representative. I'm just a mum. What do you think?
Well, I mean, but all the parties do this. They resort to rhetoric and lies about us to explain why we're winning, but they don't address why we're winning. And what Ed Davey said in his speech is very, very dangerous. And if you keep labelling people a danger to the country, you actually put a target behind their back, because people can take that seriously and say, hang on, I don't want this person who's a danger to our country. And you could put harm. You could put them in harm's way. And it's very irresponsible of him. And it's sad that he's got so many MPs. I don't think he's fit to be a leader of any political party in this country.
He would say that he was referencing comments that had previously been made by Nigel Farage, I think it was about a decade ago, and he would say that he feels that Nigel was somehow suggesting he was going to loosen gun control laws if he ever got into power.
I did do a bit of research. I think Nigel was mentioning gun clubs where you practice for certain competitions. There is no way Nigel wants to loosen gun control and allow the kind of freedom of gun ownership that the US has. And to imply that...
He is very close, though, isn't he, Layla, to Donald Trump.
So?
He shares the rhetoric.
What
They've
rhetoric
learned
is that?
a lot. Well, the style,
like
the
what?
aggressive tone.
What aggressive tone does Nigel...
Let him make your point and then we can...
You've not noticed Nigel's aggressive tone and the way he speaks? It does whip up a crowd. He's good at it. We've all seen him do it. But it's that whipping up a crowd, whether it's either side of the argument. We've seen Tommy Robinson do it in London not so long ago. Perhaps the power of reason and conversation, a bit more like you and I here now, needs to be the way forward, rather than people using that kind of rhetoric. And yeah, I would throw Ed Davey in that in terms of some of the things he said yesterday. But perhaps he's responding to Musk, Tommy Robinson, and indeed some of the things that Nigel said.
But sorry, go on.
No, what dangerous, did you say aggressive rhetoric that Nigel has? Can you tell me one thing he said that's aggressive?
If you say something, albeit even in 2014, about the idea of a proliferation of guns in society...
He didn't say in society, he said in gun clubs.
There is lots of rhetoric on a whole range of issues.
Like what? Give me one thing that's an aggressive rhetoric that Nigel said, because you seem to think that he does. Give me one thing that you would deem aggressive.
You don't feel that Nigel's style is one that creates conflict or battle.
Not at all.
Because having been, and you may well be in Parliament yourself at some stage, but having sat in the chamber, the toing and froing of debate, you get MPs of different styles. You get the calm, relaxed, those that want to have a dialogue. Nigel is not at that end of the scale. He's very much an up it and at 'em and very, very, firm in the way that he speaks. That style does whip people up.
So what aggressive rhetoric are you talking about, just so I know what I'm defending here?
Well, in the views of many people, the way he talks about migrants.
How does he talk about migrants?
Have you not seen the television?
Tell me an example.
Well, you're saying he uses aggressive rhetoric, and obviously she wants to respond to that. So what is it? What aggressive rhetoric are you suggesting he's doing?
Well, let's look at what happened in the march in London a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Interesting crowd. Nigel has actually...
Nigel had nothing to do with that
He wasn't there.
march.
He didn't go to that march. But do you think there were a lot of Reform members that were at that march?
No. If you could just please address the question. That Nigel is the leader of the party I represent, and if you're going to say that he spreads aggressive rhetoric, stand by your words and give me some examples, that's all.
Well, I already did.
No, you didn't. You didn't give me one aggressive example of what he said.
And I've mentioned on the subject of immigration.
Yes, what did he say?
It's very, very divisive.
In what way?
Isn't it?
In what way?
Well, all right. How about saying something about people's rights to remain in this country without being specific about how that affects pensioners who have been here very many years and may have worked in the NHS. For them, that might be quite frightening. People who've come to this country, worked hard and contributed, they may feel nervous because of the consequence of that rhetoric. There's one example.
So if you've been in here decades and you've contributed, and you're on ILR, indefinite leave to remain, why don't you apply for citizenship?
You saying that everybody has to? What about those Americans and Canadians?
Show commitment to this country.
You asked me a question, I'll answer it. There's many Americans and Canadians that have come here, have ILR, but are proud of their citizenship. They don't want to give it up. Why should they have to?
So that's fine, but they're not. If you don't show commitment to this country after decades of being here, you definitely shouldn't be claiming benefits. You think that people that come to this country spend decades in it and are not proud enough to claim citizenship should claim benefits.
For those people, those individuals, whether they're Americans or Canadians, who feel very proud of where they came from, that they may feel alarmed by that rhetoric.
No.
It affects their lives, their homes, and what they've built for themselves in this country.
Well, if they've built so much and they've built a home and they've built a family, then they should make the move and become British, and we welcome them with open arms. Any other aggressive... You see, your party said that the people... I mean, let's go back to the march, because we've both agreed that he hasn't said any aggressive rhetoric. You haven't given me one sentence. You haven't given me one sentence or one word that he said was aggressive.
We've had quite a long debate about an example.
But I mean, no, hang on.
Is that something you would then say to residents of your ward in Westminster?
Yes, listen, my parents were very happy as soon as they could become British. They became British, and that's the kind of people we want in this country. Let's go back to the march, because we both agreed that you couldn't give me an example.
We didn't agree.
You haven't given me an example. You give me one example. What has he actually said? You said rhetoric...
You want me to talk about the march? The march is an example of rhetoric that whips people up and unsettles them.
Why?
I'm not saying that was
what
about
was said. What was said in the march?
Did you hear what Tommy Robinson said?
I'm not talking about what Tommy... Do you know why people were marching?
For very many reasons. Very many reasons. Were you there?
I know why people were... I wasn't there.
Them?
Do you know why people...
You weren't there.
See them? These are people.
I was actually at Southwark Tube Station in the morning, and I saw people gathering there. And I knew that there was likely to be some trouble at that time. A lot of people there were very peaceful. There were some people, that weren't white that were there as well. But I could also tell by the time I'd come out of my meeting and alcohol was involved, the Tommy Robinson speech had happened, there were a lot of people feeling very nervous and quite frightened.
Who? Did you speak to people who were frightened? Why?
Yes. I saw people running away.
What were they frightened of?
I also watched the news and saw police officers being attacked. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
In any... it's a sad state of our city.
What made those people attack those police officers?
I mean, you can't brandish 100,000 people by 25 people who decided to attack. Yes, you are.
Myself.
Yes, you are.
Very many people there went there with peaceful
But you just said they were divisive.
No, from different backgrounds.
What were they divisive?
I said Tommy Robinson's rhetoric is divisive. Would you agree with me? Would you agree with me?
I didn't hear a speech.
Tommy Robinson's.
I didn't hear a speech.
You're a politician.
So are you.
You didn't watch the speech?
I'm not here to...
You didn't hear what Elon Musk said about declaring war in this country?
Hang on, you can't switch the argument around. You just said...
I haven't switched it out. It's a very simple question.
The people marching were divisive. Why were they... So they're not divisive.
Those that attack police officers...
Of course. It's always wrong to attack police officers.
So what made them attack them? What made them attack police officers?
So, hang on. Now, are we talking about the 25 people that attacked police officers, or are we talking about the people on the march?
25 people that were arrested.
Pick your battles, Prime Minister.
The 25 people that were arrested.
Pick your battle. Which one are you battling?
So
now everyone on the march is not divisive. Is that what you're saying?
I have not talked about everybody on the march.
Yes, you did. You started off by saying the people on the march are divisive. And let me tell you what's divisive.
No. I said some people on that march were whipped up by divisive rhetoric from Tommy Robinson. But you haven't... At least Nigel Farage distances himself from him. You won't even do that.
Right, hold on a minute, because I think we've just gone off-piste a little bit, as I do say it so myself. Right, There was a march that took place at the weekend. Depending on which crowd counting metric you follow, the numbers of attendees are disputed. It was absolutely 100,000 plus and then some. It was streamed and watched by millions of people. So this is a broad reach march. I really don't understand why, whenever we talk about this march, many people from the Labour side of the argument feel the need, rather than focusing on the hundreds of thousands of people that attended the march peacefully and all the rest of it, seem to focus in on the 25 arrests. When you talk about the pro-Palestine march, plural, marches plural, do you sit there and view them through the prism of the people that have been arrested?
Yes, I mean, people
You do.
who...
So when you describe a pro-Palestine march,
Michelle,
do you... I know, but let me just ask you, I just want to make sure I'm clear in my questioning. So when you're referencing and discussing and all the rest of it, a pro-Palestinian march, do you discuss it and frame it through the lens of the minuscule number of people that have been arrested?
No, I don't. In the same way as we began in this conversation, we were looking at events in America. And I would say there are people on both sides of the argument there that are using rhetoric that does whip people up.
Would you agree? Sorry, Michelle.
No, sorry. You see, I just find this so interesting because I know that many people that watch this programme, you were at that march. And I can, my ears are almost
But
on fire
don't misrepresent what I've said about the people out at the march. I was talking about Tommy Robinson.
I'm not misrepresenting.
I was talking about what Elon Musk said. You'll have seen that. But Layla didn't see those speeches.
Yes, but right. I want to be absolutely clear. Many people in society at the moment, they are whipped up. They are in a fury. They are absolutely livid, quite frankly, with what's going on. But I wouldn't place the blame on people like Tommy Robinson or Elon Musk. I would place the blame on politicians in this country of multiple different colours and stripes for many, many years, if not decades, who have deliberately and persistently ignored the democratic will of the British people who have voted for less immigration, not more, and controlled borders. They have been basically just snubbed, those people, and it's got worse and it's got worse and it's got worse. The volume is out of control, and people at home are furious about the treatment that they see these so-called asylum seekers, illegal migrants receiving, while simultaneously those people are being asked, tighten your belts, things are going to get harder, we're going to take more tax off you. There is a gross unfairness in this system. People are not happy with their communities changing at a rate of knots against their will. That's what is whipping people up into a frenzy. It's not words spoken by, whether it's Farage, Robinson, Musk, whoever it is. Do you accept that?
Well, that's a debate about immigration, which I'm more than happy to have. But you did ask the question at the start about Ed Davey. And whether it was his language.
You know what people are protesting about? They're protesting about having rapists, terrorists put in their towns and villages and being ignored. They're protesting about a Labour Party, a government that silences them, calls them far right, calls them a danger to our country.
Well, look, apparently there is a potential solution to some of this. It's not just ID cards, it's super ID. I'll get onto that after the break.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Western and central parts of Europe will start to see any heavy downpours easing away, though some scattered showers will still remain. That's not so much the case across the Canary Islands, Madeira, also Spain and Portugal. Mostly settled here, largely dry, plenty of sunny spells. But across France, even into parts of Germany, we could still see some isolated showers remain. But through Italy, the Adriatic coastline and also parts of Greece remaining settled, dry with sunny spells, though we could start to see more showers over the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, it should remain mostly dry and a rather settled picture. Still chilly overnight with some fog possible during the early hours of the morning. That's before some rainfall as we head towards the weekend. But the reason it's so dry and settled over the coming days, it's all due to high pressure situated to the northeast of the country. But eventually, we'll start to see some systems move in from the Atlantic. Now through into the evening, it is going to turn chilly as soon as the sun goes down, remaining mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, particularly in the west. So it's likely we'll see some frost here through the early hours of the morning, also some mist and fog, but more cloud across parts of the southeast. So it's not going to turn quite as chilly here, but many towns and cities mostly in the mid to high single figures. So across Scotland to start the day, once again it is going to be fairly chilly, particularly in any rural spots. Mostly dry, though we could start to see some high cloud build in from the west. A very slight chance of some isolated spells of rain here. Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, it should be a mostly dry and bright start, but once again some mist and fog in places, and fairly similar elsewhere across the rest of England and Wales, and still fairly breezy around southeastern coasts too. But through Thursday it'll be fairly similar to what we saw today. Mostly dry, plenty of sunny spells, wall-to-wall blue skies for many areas. But western parts of Scotland, it is still going to be fairly breezy here, some high cloud pushing in. That will just create hazier spells of sunshine. But for most, it should be a mostly pleasant day. Temperatures will just start to push into the low 20s around the London area, but elsewhere mid to high teens, and still remaining fairly breezy around southeastern coasts. Through into Friday, once again, another chilly start, some mist and fog patches possible, but more clouds starting to push into the very far southeast. A chance we could see an isolated shower push through, and similar across the far northeast of England, and also Scotland too could see the odd isolated shower. But many, once again, it should be a mostly dry day. That's before a more unsettled picture as we head into Saturday. It's likely we'll see spells of rain and some possible strong winds.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Motorists on the A737 at Howard should proceed with caution due to a broken vehicle. The M5 northbound has lane closures between junction 23 and 22. The A585 southbound in Lancashire is closed due to a collision. In Surrey, the A3 southbound is entirely closed after a traffic incident. The M25 anti-clockwise has congestion with minor delays between junction 26 and 25. Great Western Railway services are disrupted between Romsey and Salisbury and Swindon and Bristol Parkway. And on the trains, London North Western Railway is experiencing disruptions across multiple routes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Michelle Dewberry, Dewbs and Co. Till 7. Look at the time, don't you think it just flies? What time is it now? 6:38 already. It's absolutely flying by. Reform UK councillor Leila Cunningham and the former Labour Minister Parjit Danda. Lots of you are getting in touch at the moment. Andy has said, we don't need more talk about illegal immigration, Michelle. We need action. We need a new government who wants to enforce our borders. You're not going to get that, Andy. You're not suddenly going to get a general election tomorrow, so we are where we are. What we actually need is a government who follows through. We're going to all have to wait and see and hold our breath, see whether or not the new Home Secretary follows through. You might have seen as well some of that footage about the flight deportations. Did you see that? It got released today as well, going back to Romania. What did you think to that? But I always hear, when we're talking about immigration, you often hear the solution or a potential solution, ID cards. We discussed this the other day. Lots of you were up in arms about it. Well, it gets worse, because today it's not just about ID cards, ladies and gents. It's now about so-called super digital ID cards. According to, can you guess who? The Tony Blair Institute. Apparently, many of us would back such a scheme. Let me get this graph on the show for you, actually. By super ID cards, what we mean is it'll all be connected up. You'll be able to report potholes, your missed bin collections and all the rest of it. And apparently, we're overwhelmingly in favour of this. They reckon that on this particular super ID, 62% of people would agree with super app digital ID. But apparently, according to this think tank, 78% of Labour supporters would back it, almost 50% of Reform, 73% of Tories, 67% of Labour, 55% Greens. Why are the left so obsessed with ID cards?
It doesn't sound like a very left-wing thing, really, does it? It's kind of a little bit more state-sponsored. But I don't have a problem with it. I think things have changed over the years. Firstly, driving licences, going from the old paper ones like I used to have back in my day.
Yeah.
And beyond that, COVID happened, and all of a sudden on our mobile phones we had all of our NHS data, which in the past we would have felt uncomfortable about. So maybe the mood in society has changed a little bit and is a little bit more comfortable about carrying that kind of data. So personally, if it was done right, the piece suggests that local government manages this, and that would cause me some concerns, because I don't know whether local government really has the wherewithal or the resources to be able to manage that kind of data. But if the data is managed properly, I could see that there would be some advantages in it.
We're told that Tony Blair wants to bring in digital IDs to book potholes, access GP appointments. But that's nonsense. We already have things like Fix My Street or Report It. I don't need to prove who I am to complain to the council. I can do it anonymously. The truth is, this is about building a master database on law-abiding citizens, and they can't handle the border. Why can I trust them to handle my data? Second, why should I be monitored? Because they failed to secure the channel. Why should I give away more rights to the government while illegal migrants get more and more rights? Why should I be tracked when illegal migrants come with no documents and are given full access to consultants, £600 taxi drives, and then the government, instead of dealing with that, wants to track me even more? Nobody wants more government interference in their lives. We want less. We want a government that delivers, not a government that tracks us all the time. Why? Why does the left want this?
Well, I'm a little less of a conspiracy theorist. I was wondering how long it would take before you brought every single issue back to migration, but we'll probably have...
Well, that's what they said they want to bring it in for, to tackle illegal migration.
No, if you read the piece, it's a whole range of things,
well, I mean,
services.
Sorry, hang on. Is illegal migration not one of them? Did I not read that right?
Yes, you've...
OK, thank you. That's why I brought it back.
You wrote that in red, double capitals, 18 point.
That's why I wrote... That's why I mentioned it. So I don't see why you say I bring it in. It's mentioned in the piece.
You and I are both sons and daughters of migrants.
Not illegal migrants coming on a boat, no.
Migrants.
Yes, legal migrants. There's a big difference.
You don't mind migrants, are you happy with migrants?
No, and you know we don't mind migrants.
Well,
that's the problem.
I don't know what your view is.
There you go with your dangerous rhetoric, saying that reform's against migrants. Do you think there's a difference between men coming on boats illegally, throwing their documents, being housed in hotels, raping girls, to migrants that come here and work? Do you think there's a difference, and should a difference be made? Or is that far right to you?
Well, accusing me of supporting men raping girls when I'm...
I didn't say that. I said, do you think there should be a difference?
Perhaps some kind of digital database and this kind of stuff would make it easier to tackle crime.
How?
How?
Yeah.
By police having records that they can easily access. People asking for an identity card. Have they got a right to be in this country or haven't they?
How will you track that? Because these illegal migrants are coming with no documents. Already, the information going on those digital IDs are fake, are made up.
What, these digital IDs that don't actually exist?
Well, no, the ones that your party wants to bring in.
But don't you worry when it comes to you're talking about it'll help.
It isn't a Labour Party initiative, by the way. It's something that's been supported cross-party over the years.
Don't you worry about when you say, you know, it'll help, I don't know, prevent illegal working or whatever. There's this huge multi-billion-pound industry that's been spawned, smuggling people. These people, these smugglers, they're entrepreneurial people. They demonstrate that by what they're doing. I would give it 5 minutes before an industry had been established to create fake ID cards.
I was lucky enough in the past to actually spend a fair bit of time with the security services in our country, and the level of technology that you see these days is moving on. And I think there could be something in this in terms of being able to track serious criminals and being able to identify people better. If this was ever to come back to Parliament, it would need a level of cross-party support. I think that could happen.
You don't think serious criminals will know how to fake a digital ID? Seriously? You think that's going to stop criminals? Nobody voted for Big Brother.
In that respect, we just go back to pen and paper and not actually use technology.
If you actually think that turning us into a digital checkpoint is what the public wants, then you're more out of touch than I thought.
Well, I'm just about to say what do you think, but I know what you think because I can see the inbox getting in touch. You're saying, Davey says it's a digital ID is a way of and a form of control, Michelle. We already have passports, driving licence, national insurances, other IDs, you name it, we've got
NHS records on our phones.
Exactly, but his point is, what do you need any more for? That's the point he's making. You've got all that, so what do you want another one for? That's your point, isn't it? I know I'm on your wavelength, David. I know what you're talking about. I hear you, ladies and gents. I hear you. Coming up after the break, something Keir Starmer needs, like a hole in the head, the McSweeney files. See you in a minute.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewbs, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello everybody, welcome back. Michelle Dewberry, Leila Cunningham and Pam Danda alongside me till 7 o'clock. Now, I do feel that sometimes it does tend to go from bad to worse for Keir Starmer. Now, there's been so much focus and attention and scrutiny on what people are calling the McSweeney files now. This basically, long story short, it relates to just over £700,000 and whether or not Keir Starmer has been upfront and together and honest, not just him, other people, Labour Together, there's a group there, Morgan McSweeney, there's been lawyers' letters leaked. The Tory party are all over this like a skin rash. They are saying that there has been wrongdoing. Your thoughts?
The Tories are obviously very excited about it, but from what I've seen of this, the Electoral Commission looked at it 3 years ago, so I don't know what more it is they're looking for.
He was fined for wrongdoing.
But also that I gather that the Conservatives, I believe, have called for a police inquiry as well, in which case we have to wait and see what they say and what the response is to that. So it's not really something that's happening at the moment.
So at the moment, from your perspective, nothing to see here?
I'm not saying nothing to see here. I'm just saying there was an investigation 3 years ago. So what's gone wrong there then, if anything's gone wrong with that?
Leila?
Well, something did go wrong because they were fined. He was fined for wrongdoing.
Yes, he was
so
fined,
something
which
obviously
was already in the public.
So do we really want someone running our government who was fined for not declaring over £700,000 and then has the audacity to say, oops, it was an admin error? I mean, here we go again. Another week, another story of corruption, misleading the public, another story of dishonesty. And again, Keir Starmer is going to stand up and say, I fully stand by this man.
I think we've got to be a little
bit... And he's going to resign. Hang on. 2 weeks ago, he stood by Angela Rayner, who to dodge taxes on her house at the same time as writing policy to increase taxes on our home. The following week, he stood by Peter Mandelson, the best friend of the most prolific paedophile. Well, at the same time, his minister was calling Nigel Farage on the side of paedophiles for opposing the online safety bill. And now we have I think his most trusted aide has swindled or hidden 700,000.
He would deny that.
Well, no, because he was fined by the Electoral Commission for doing it.
Right.
So there's no denying it.
Just getting back to the facts around this particular case. If there's a police investigation, the police will be doing that job. There was an investigation 3 years ago. It's made its decisions, and that was that.
And was wrongdoing found? Was wrongdoing found?
Layla, what I would say, with the best will in the world, you and I, as new friends, when you have these kinds of debates in politics, and you may well find this if you end up becoming a Westminster candidate or even an MP in years to come, I really worry about the state of politics as someone who's an outsider now.
When there's so much corruption. I agree with you. I worry when it's so corrupt.
Let him finish his point. Go on, then.
In terms of across parties, this plague on all your houses stuff, you'll say the stuff about Mandelson. I could just as easily say the stuff about Nigel and a house and who bought it for him.
About what? Was Nigel friends with a paedophile?
But listen...
I'm sorry, you cannot say the same thing. Mandelson was best friends with the most prolific paedophile. Are you comparing that to Nigel? What has Nigel Farage...
Just taking it down a level.
Are you minimising Mandelson's friendship with
No, I'm not. No,
OK, it seems like you are.
Just taking it down a level.
There is no taking it down a level.
There is always...
Well, let him try. Go on.
Someone outside of the political village these days. I watch and see the muck being spread and thrown, and very easy, and it can be easily against Reform, it can be against Labour, it can be against the Lib Dems. I just think sometimes you need to let due process, whichever party it is, whatever the issue is, let it take place, and that includes in this case as well.
So Parmja, I'm really sorry. Thank you for that lesson, duly noted. But this is not muck. This is the truth. These are facts.
Was it true? Was it true about Nigel and the home? Did he pay for it or did his girlfriend pay for it?
Is that illegal? Is that illegal? Are you saying what Nigel did is illegal?
I don't know. You tell me.
So what are you accusing him of?
I don't know. I'm not accusing him of anything.
Okay,
I'm just saying there's a principle here.
No, there's no principle.
They'll just switch off if they just see you and I shouting the odds and throwing muck at each other.
Because you give me a lecture and then when I speak, you cut me off. I'm sorry. McSweeney hid 700,000 and was fined by the Electoral Commission. That is not, it's not rumour. It is fact.
It happened.
Okay, so it's not muck. It's fact. Let's get it right.
There you go. Kevin Tory MP, he's basically saying Starmer hasn't declared any of support for his leadership campaign received from Labour Together. Labour say there's nothing to see here. There was no involvement, but he says that was another lie. Apparently, it was confirmed in 2023. He says that Morgan McSweeney was, quote, seconded from Labour Together to campaign for Starmer. Labour Together proactively raised concerns, they say, about its own reporting of the donation to the Electoral Committee in 2020. The outcome, they say, was made public. That's all I've got time for. Thanks, panel. Thanks you at home. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Over the coming days, it should remain mostly dry and a rather settled picture. Still chilly overnight with some fog possible during the early hours of the morning. That's before some rainfall as we head towards the weekend. But the reason it's so dry and settled over the coming days, it's all due to high pressure situated to the northeast of the country. But eventually, we'll start to see some systems move in from the Atlantic. Now through into the evening, it is going to turn chilly as soon as the sun goes down, remaining mostly dry, plenty of clear skies, particularly in the west. So it's likely we'll see some frost here through the early hours of the morning, also some mist and fog, but more cloud across parts of the southeast. So it's not going to turn quite as chilly here, but many towns and cities mostly in the mid to high single figures. So across Scotland to start the day, once again, it is going to be fairly chilly, particularly in any rural spots. Mostly dry, though we could start to see some high cloud build in from the west. A very slight chance of some isolated spells of rain here. Northern Ireland and northern parts of England, it should be a mostly dry and bright start, but once again, some mist and fog in places, and fairly similar elsewhere across the rest of England and Wales, and still fairly breezy around southeastern coasts too. But through Thursday, it'll be fairly similar to what we saw today. Mostly dry, plenty of sunny spots spells, wall-to-wall blue skies for many areas. But western parts of Scotland, it is still going to be fairly breezy here, some high cloud pushing in. That will just create hazier spells of sunshine. But for most, it should be a mostly pleasant day. Temperatures will just start to push into the low 20s around the London area, but elsewhere, mid to high teens, and still remaining fairly breezy around southeastern coasts. Through into Friday, once again, another chilly start, some mist and fog patches possible, but more clouds starting to push into the very far southeast. A chance we could see an isolated shower push through, and similar across the far northeast of England, and also Scotland too could see the odd isolated shower. But many, once again, it should be a mostly dry day. That's before a more unsettled picture as we head into Saturday. It's likely we'll see spells of rain and some possible strong winds.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the roads this evening, the A737 at Howard faces disruptions as it remains restricted in both directions due to a broken down vehicle. Motorists should exercise caution when approaching this area. In North Lincolnshire, the M180 westbound experiences delays due to a road traffic collision affecting the westbound exit slip at Junction 2. Moving to Somerset, an incident on the M5 northbound between junctions 23 and 22 has resulted in lane closures, causing significant delays. And on the trains, there is disruption on the Great Western Railway between Swindon and Bristol Parkway, and multiple routes are affected on the London North Western Railway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewbs, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only